see those thumbs up. Well, we have three really interesting guests today to share with us. And the first one, Amanda Rodriguez. Amanda, so good to see you in person. We've talked by the phone several times. She's a lead success strategist with IOBY, and I will share that web link here in just a moment. The IOBY stands for In Our Backyards. It gives local leaders the ability to crowdfund resources that they may need to help in their neighborhoods or with a neighborhood project, to do things that are sustainable and fun and improve their neighborhood. She's going to share with us a presentation on Crowdfunding 101 that I think will be helpful for everyone and how you could use their organization to really push your projects forward. She works with people all across the nation. She's really an expert in this topic, and she's helped a number of projects become a reality, including community gardens, community murals, mutual aid, nutrition education programs even. And something you might not know about Amanda, but I found online, she has a vast background. She studied environmental engineering and Latin American studies. She's led operations for several startup companies, as well as for a national ice cream company. Wow, let's hear it for that. And one thing you can't miss about Amanda, she loves food. She apparently loves to talk about food, grow food, cook food, create new recipes in the kitchen. Sounds like Amanda is my new best friend. I want to get to know Amanda. So I'm looking forward to her presentation. And let me, Amanda, make you a co-host so you can share your screen with us today. Great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, David. That was such a beautiful introduction, and I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to share with you all the ways that IOB can support neighborhood projects. David, I really enjoyed your video that you showed earlier because you gave a lot of examples of the exact kind of projects somebody might choose to crowdfund for on IOB. Because of course, I loved that you talked about like, who doesn't love a cookie? Like just make a little extra. And that's amazing. Absolutely. And sometimes like these community projects do cost a little bit of money, you know. Wouldn't it be awesome if everybody pitched in for a gallon of paint for a community mural? Or wouldn't it be awesome if everybody pitched in for this this porch project so that you're not doing it alone and everyone's truly part of the experience? And I think that crowdfunding has a lot to offer. And thank you, anybody who's joining me FaceTime. I think that it's also, you know, David, the idea of neighboring definitely is changing because like, hopefully everyone thinks of their neighbor as like someone you can count on and rely on and talk with. And it's very cool to feel like I can call people across the country neighbors because we're working together on, you know, we're all part of a community that believes that we should strengthen our communities. And that's one thing that brings us together. And it's really cool that technology can do that, like change our perception of neighbor and expand it so that, you know, David, you in Missouri, we are neighbors. So with that, I'll share a little bit about IOB, and I'm going to be honest. Oh, wonderful. I think I can share it this way. Here we go. One thing I'll share is I might not be able to, oops. I might not be able to see your reaction. So actually, before I start, would you like to give some kind of reaction if you even know what crowdfunding is? Cool. I saw one thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Awesome. So this is probably a kind of new concept, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about how that works and how it fits into your community. Can you all see introduction to IOB? Is that all you can see? Wonderful. So as David shared, IOB, IOBY stands for in our backyards, and it's the positive opposite of NIMBY. Not in my backyards. We operate nationally. So we're a nonprofit crowdfunding platform, and I'll share a little bit more about crowdfunding and what that means in a moment, but we do support leaders all across the country. We have, of course, we have projects in Missouri and California, Alaska, Puerto Rico. We also have some of our teammates are located across the country as well. Cleveland, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Pittsburgh. We have a teammate in Florida, Texas. So we're really a national team as well. And our intention is to give local leaders resources they need to build real lasting change from the ground up. So IOB residents projects are resident-led, resident-designed, resident-funded, and resident-implemented. And that's the benefit of crowdfunding. When you crowdfund for your project, you're asking your community to pitch in for your project. It's kind of like a bake sale or a mini fundraiser, but it's very local to your community because you're probably going to be having one-on-one conversations with your neighbors to ask them to contribute. Now, IOB has supported over $13 million in being raised by resident leaders for their community projects. And the median donation size is $50. So we don't have a minimum donation because reality is if you need $500 for your project, that means that 100 of your neighbors could contribute just $5 and you'd reach your goal. So we have projects of all sizes. We've trained over 25,000 leaders and launched at this point probably nearly 3,000 projects. And IOB leaders are really run the gamut in the way that they're showing up for their community. We have some projects that are run by large mission-driven organizations with operating budgets of over $2 million. These guys have fundraising teams, and you've probably heard about them, doing big work in the community. And nonprofits can totally use our platform, but a majority of our projects are run by grassroots and deep roots leaders. So people who rarely have paid staff, don't have a 501c3 status or an existing donor base, or maybe they're a little more advanced. They've been doing things in their community for a while, but still completely new to fundraising, maybe, or completely new to crowdfunding. Maybe their existing fundraising has been done through grants or other ways of bringing money to their projects, and asking their neighbors directly for money might be new for them. And I think that the coolest thing about crowdfunding, how it's a little different from asking for a grant, is that it's more than financial capital. You're building social and human capital too. Through IOB, you can you can galvanize your volunteers as well. We have a little button so that you can request help from volunteers. And just through the nature of having these conversations, either one-on-one or through personalized emails, you're building social support for your project. Even if somebody doesn't give to your campaign, they have an opportunity to get to know about the work that's going on in their neighborhood and in their community. And maybe if they don't give to your first campaign, they might give to your second one. And so crowdfunding is really about long-lasting change, building your community, and being able to build and grow from what you started. So in the short term, you can have your money pretty soon. You don't have to wait for somebody to approve your project and then for the entire cohort of applications to be read before you can receive money. You can crowdfund right away. And a lot of our crowdfunding fundraisers really do rely on that sense of urgency and have only an 8-week campaign. Once you close your campaign, you can receive your funds pretty quickly, you know, between 3 and business days or 10 business days, depending on if you receive a check or if you want to do it electronically. But this is a very quick process, and it gives you the ability to implement these funds as soon as possible. But in the long term, we have lots of examples of projects that start small and then through their first crowdfunding campaign, gain exposure through local leadership and are able to gain support from their local governments and maybe even use these crowdfunding campaigns as examples of success for if they do decide to apply for a grant. So grant writing and crowdfunding and other forms of fundraising can all work together. So I have a few examples of some IOB projects to show you how different IOB projects can really be. So we have a dear resident leader, Pam, started the Sharpsburg Community Mural Project. And the purpose was to bring people together through public art and make sure that people had a sense of community and excitement to live in their neighborhood and something beautiful that they could walk by. A cool thing about this first one is that some of the funding that was raised from the community, but some was matched by a match fund that we had. So we also have match funds available sometimes for eligible projects for different locations. I can tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But one thing I also want to highlight is that this wasn't a big budget project. Less than $1,000 was needed in order for this project to come to life. So the budget was 4 gallons of paint, labor and supplies to make sure that they were able to make this mural come to life. And it was funded in part by the Artist Lead Match, a match that we had that was able to, we have these matches so that we can make sure that more money is flowing to the communities that need it most. The way it works is if you're eligible for a match program like this one, your community will donate money, and then money will be immediately doubled into your campaign. And it's just one extra way that we can help make projects more successful. Right now, we have some matches going on in New York City, in Pittsburgh, in Detroit. So you can absolutely crowdfund for your project without a match, but we do try to make these available for community leaders just to help galvanize the community. And now Pam is working to extend the life of the mural and create some necessary infrastructure to make sure that it can be a long-lasting mural, and has an active campaign right now. So that was an example of a smaller project with a lower budget, under $1,000. But we do also have projects of all sizes. So the Firefly Trail group in northern Georgia raised nearly $100,000 over the course of 2 campaign pages. And they were very strategic in why they even started a crowdfunding campaign. They knew that there was a vote in their community for the Transportation Special Local Option Sales Tax, Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, which would give money to transportation facilities and infrastructure projects based on a 1% sales tax. So they wanted to make sure that their project got on the ballot. And once it got on the ballot, that it had momentum, that people knew about it, so that they would vote that this project would be included in that special fund of money. And they were successful. I mean, as you can see, their first project, they raised over $60,000. That's the one on the right, which is the Firefly Trail Model Miles project. And then they had a continuation fundraiser so that they could pay an organizer, someone who can make sure that this project does stay on track. So $16 million was the result of their crowdfunding campaign, because they were able to galvanize a donor base and get recognition and buy-in from their company. And if you talk to one of the leaders of this project, Yvette, she'll tell you that the way it works is kind of like if you were talking to a kid, if a kid wanted to get a car for their birthday or something, they ask their parents, and their parents are like, what? Why do you deserve a car? What are you going to do with the car? You're not responsible enough for a car, something like that. The kid could just walk away with a no. But if he or she raises $3,000, then goes to their parents again and says, hey, I saved up $3,000. Can you help me out with the rest for the car? They might be more likely to say yes. And so that's kind of an analogy of how crowdfunding could work in your community if you're trying to get buy-in from your local government or receive even more funding. It's a way to show support for your project. And then finally, we also evolve our product all the time. So we started out as really a project-based platform. That's what we're set up for, projects like murals and environmental projects and small community farms. But during COVID, we received a lot of requests to use our platform for mutual aid projects. And as a result, we made sure that happened. We have one-on-one coaching available, and we work with leaders to make sure they're able to crowdfund for their ideas. So in the last 2 years, we've been able to support many mutual aid projects as well. And oftentimes they'll phase their project. Maybe they'll do a spring fundraiser, summer fundraiser, fall fundraiser, so that they can continue to share funds and food or whatever necessary supplies with their community. But we're just seeing even more diversity in the kinds of project ideas too that are coming through IOB's platform. So I talked a little bit about how IOB is built for community change because we can help you recruit volunteers. Every donation to an IOB project is tax deductible. So the donors receive, your community will receive a tax deductible contribution receipt once they make a donation. And I mentioned also that a lot of our leaders and our teams raising money on IOB are not 501c3s. So we offer fiscal sponsorship for eligible projects to make sure that you're able to collect tax deductible donations and do valuable work in your community without having to fill out all the paperwork and go through all the administration and spend the time of creating 501c3 in order to make impactful progress in your community. And my role, I'm a leader success strategist. So every day I'm able to work with leaders across the country and support them with their ideas and coach them in their fundraising campaigns. So if you're feeling a little bit of a struggle making your first asks for donations or have questions about building your team, one-on-one coaching is part of crowdfunding on IOB's platform. this is a review of what we've talked about, that leaders who crowdfund on IOB have the opportunity to have increased fundraising knowledge, work with a coach. You get experience planning your project, more practice being a leader, have the ability to leverage additional funds, and perhaps even make new relationships with decision makers in your community. And like build the leadership capacity in your community as well. When you build a team, you're able to request that other people rise to the challenge as well and become a leader alongside you. And a lot of our projects are implemented as planned, and 87% finish. Now, I've shared a lot of information, and we have extensive resources available online at both iob.org and support.iob.org. These are all free. So if you're not quite ready to share your idea, but you just want to understand what may be available for you, we have the Leader Toolkit. We have an abundance of webinars available online too. So if you are going to start a larger budget project, we have resources about what it's like to crowdfund for a campaign that's raising over $10,000. We know it can be daunting and scary to ask for money. So we have webinars on like how to even change your mindset when you're telling your story and asking for money. So a lot of our resources are available online for free. And you don't need to even have a project that you're crowdfunding for on IOB. If you do have a project in mind that you're excited to crowdfund, you know exactly how you want to make change in your community. And if you just had a little bit of money, you'd be able to make it happen. You can go to iob.org/idea, and you can submit your idea, and then you'll be matched with a leader success strategist like myself to talk through your idea and see what are the next steps to make sure that that idea comes to life. We can talk through your budget and your strategy for fundraising, and all this is free. So at the end of your campaign, we collect a 3% processing fee. If we're your fiscal sponsor, there's an additional fee for that, but it all is at the end of your campaign. We help you think through your budget so that you're crowdfunding for those fees as well. It's hopefully a very accessible tool for people who want to make change in their community. And if you do have any questions, you can email me at success@iob.org.
Amanda, that was great.
Awesome.
I'm hoping someone in the class has questions right now. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or ask in chat. That was a great presentation. Love the graphics in there. Several of those charts are worth going back and looking at again. Very good. Looks like maybe Chet has a question at least.
Sure. Hey, Chet.
I did have a question. There's other crowdfunding platforms like Kiva.org, Kiva. I'm just curious if you could maybe dive into any differentiating factors, or they often say the devil's in the details. Is there a percentage of the overall funding or a flat fee that's taken, or just curious there?
Yeah, of course. I'll also drop into our chat, iob.org/fees, where you can see a list of all the fees that we have, but we don't charge a flat fee. We used to actually have a fee, and then we realized that wasn't helping neighbors crowdfund for their ideas. So at the end of your project, so let's say you raise $1,000, 3% of what you raise will go to our donation processing fee. And that actually just goes towards the nature of collecting money online. There is a cost associated with that. But And if you want to use IOB's fiscal sponsorship, there's a 5% fee for that, but nothing is charged up front. And those are really the only fees associated with your project.
And I hope people are picking up on what Amanda is sharing. If you're in a neighborhood and you're not a 501c3, you're just some crazy neighbors that have got together and you want to do something to improve your neighborhood, you can do all of that. You can crowdsource those funds through IOB without going and forming a 501c3 and going through all that headache. And it is a headache. So I mean, I just think it's a great opportunity, and I love their neighborhood focus, of course. Any other questions of Amanda?
And I'll also follow up that I haven't used kiva.org, but I think one of the things that IOB leaders always say is like really valuable is the relationship that you have with your IOB coach. If it's something that if you are a first-time fundraiser or you're feeling like this can be kind of challenging, you do have the leader success strategist available to you with whom you can schedule a strategy or coaching call with. You can always email us at success@iob.org to help you with any questions that you might have. So I think that's something that we consistently get feedback from resident leaders that's a huge plus for crowdfunding on IOB.
It is. It's a great resource. And I'll continue to repeat that to those who are here live and those that are listening to the recording and those that are accessing our other portals of information. It's a great resource. It's certainly worth your time to look at and learn about.
Thanks, David.
Amanda, thank you. Thank you for your time and everything in your presentation today. We have two more people to hear from today, and one's a bit of a surprise because I just found out about this the other day. And because Sherry, I guess, saw my name connected with National Good Neighbor Day in maybe her local newspaper, and she reached out. And so we were lucky to have Sherry McAllister, I believe would be the correct pronunciation, right? And yes. Sherry is the owner of D&L Florist in Houston, Missouri. And I'm not going to steal any of her thunder. I'm going to let her tell you what they've been doing for National Good Neighbor Day. I think you're going to
be. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, good deal. We have been actually doing Good Neighbor Day since the year 2007, August, okay? And what we do is you're gonna come into my flower shop, and we're actually doing it again, September 28th. And and some sponsors, okay, together, there's 14 of us this year, are going to give away, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to give you a dozen roses. I don't know if you can see this or not, but anyway, you're going to come in and I'm going to present you with this bundle. I'm not very good at this, a dozen roses, okay? And each one of them has a tag on it with a with a list of all of our sponsors on it, okay? And we are giving away over 2,500 roses. That's more than I do at Valentine's Day. That's a lot of flowers. So we've been doing this now. Like I said, I went in the history archives and looked it up last night. And since 2007, we did take last year off due to COVID, but it's been a great thing. I mean, I've got lots of people that look forward to this every year. Our community gets in and supports us. I have banks, I have car dealerships that we just take in donations. We don't give them a set amount. They just donate whatever they feel and they get the sponsorship. We do a lot of social media with it, presents, and it's a really great thing. We had been doing the Good Neighbor Bear, okay, with State Farm. Okay, but they got rid of the bear because we now have the bacon guy. You know, I'm not sure why, but we have the bacon guy. And so this year we're going to use our school mascot. It's a tiger, but the tiger will be here to take a picture with you with your dozen roses. And so it is a wonderful community thing, and especially we need it again this year, just to show everybody, put a smile on their face, and it's a wonderful thing that we do.
Well, Sherry, I actually saw after you contacted me, and I milled around on social media a little bit. I saw some people mentioning this in their hometown of Houston, saying it's their favorite day of the year. It's like Christmas in September. I mean, just really some sweet stories, and people posting about someone had brought them a rose as a friendship gesture or delivered them to their neighbors. And you give away 2,500 roses. And I want people to understand that the entire population of Houston, Missouri is 2,592 people. So you really getting that whole town covered in the neighboring spirit, it sounds like.
Yes. And there's a lot of people that come from the outer lying areas, because we have a lot of small towns that connect to us, that come and participate and take them back. One year we had a little radio blip about it, and I had a truck driver that heard it on the radio. He stopped and he took him on his way towards Springfield. He was headed to Norwood. He had a couple stops there, and he was just going to spread the cheer all the way to Springfield. So yes, we love it.
Oh, that's great. Well, all the way back to 2007, what would you say was kind of the key to getting this started and getting other businesses or people in your town kind of excited about the idea?
When we started it, it was more about trying to get our community together. And the gentleman, it was Forbes Pharmacy, and he was a big town supporter. And he and I got to talking about it, and it's like, let's do this, that type of thing. And now then, it's not hard for me to get the sponsorship, because the community knows what we do and how we do it, how we present it, and we give them their dollar value. So the sponsorship's really easy to come by nowadays, but because they know what it's like and what we do. So yeah.
Well, it's a great example of really a lot of enthusiasm that goes into that idea and getting that pulled off. And I thought other people would like to hear about that. Of course, whether they're live or listening to the recording of the class, I think you deserve a round of applause for sure for pulling that off, and or jazz hands, and really appreciate your enthusiasm for Neighbor Day. Very, very impressive, and wish you the best of luck this year. Love to see I'll try and follow online or gather up some pictures somehow to see your success this year.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us and sharing that today. And then one final guest today, last but not least, you've heard from Hannah King before. Hannah is with Community Partnership of the Ozarks. And this year they've launched a neighborhood bingo game, kind of in support of National Good Neighbor Day. And I've asked her to explain the program that they have put together and share some examples. I don't know. I think I have to share some of the examples, don't I, Hannah? I'm sorry about that. So I'll pull up some of our example bingo cards and let her explain how they're implementing this. You have to unmute. There you go.
First of all, the other two guests were just awesome. I don't know how I'm going to follow that. That was super awesome resources, and a lot of energy being put into the roses, which I think is just inspiring. So thank you. But like David said, I work for Community Partnership, and we work with several partners in the community. I work specifically with the neighborhood associations and do events for them. And this year, we had a sponsorship for another event that, because of COVID, we weren't able to hold, but they are a generous sponsorship that is really flexible and allows us to use funds for other events. And so we decided, what's a better way to use this funding than to encourage our neighbors to do neighboring activities for National Good Neighbor Day. So we found a different example of a Good Neighbor bingo online through, I think the National Good Neighbor Day. I think there's like a website, but we found something like that. And we're able to customize it for our neighbors, make it something that they will be excited about, that they will be able to get even a little bit more out of it for the neighborhood association, such as towards the bottom, there's one that says to join, volunteer with, or donate to your neighborhood association, or attend a neighborhood association meeting. And so we kind of sweetened the deal for them. And what we did was we printed off 50 for each participating neighborhood to start out with. And they collected them and passed them out to their neighborhood association. And individuals in their neighborhood who filled those out, if they returned a bingo sheet with 5 spots covered, then they would be entered in for a drawing that would be pulled on September 28th. And then all of those collected drawings, those collected cards, would later be submitted to us at Community Partnership, and we would count who had the highest participation in all of the participating neighborhood associations. And so we offered $50 for the raffles of neighbor participation, and then overall participation, we offered a $400 prize. So we got a lot of really good response from that. Out of our 22 neighborhoods, we have 9 participating, and which is really good for something that takes a little bit extra effort, and especially in this period of time, we haven't had as much interest in doing that extra bit of effort because it's been so hard to get volunteers and participation. So we're really excited about that. And what it comes down to is, out of all of those 9 neighborhoods who are participating, they have the opportunity to do at least 50 people give 50 bingo cards, and each 50 people from those 9 neighborhoods will be doing 5 acts of kindness, which I didn't do the math and I should have, but is quite a lot of kindness being done throughout the community. And I don't think that people are going to stop with just the 5 activities. I think they're going to do even more. So I'm just really excited to see how it turns out. And another thing that we did with this is just to keep the ball rolling and to keep neighborhoods inspired and motivated to do these neighborly acts. We've also been collaborating with David on getting them some resources. The last week, we sent all of the neighborhood associations an email to encourage them to join the Neighboring 101 and the other resources that they offer. And this past week, we submitted to them a list of neighboring books that they can use to do a book club or to share in a little free library, which will cover one of the spots on their bingo cards as well. So it's been really fun to engage with our neighborhood associations like that.
Hannah, I just did a quick little calculation here. If all 9 of those neighbors had people participate on all 50 cards and do a minimum of 5 acts, that's 2,250 acts of neighboring right there.
There we go. And then if they all submit their neighboring acts to 1,000 acts of neighboring, then I think that we have accomplished our goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see Ched is asking if these are available, if there's some downloadable versions. And whoops, you still see my screen here. Let me, there are, Chet, and I'll get that posted here in just a bit. Hannah has that version with the good neighborhood activities that they're doing. I actually have one that we've used and been using for a while that people can fill out and turn in, and we'll send them some swag. And then there's also one that I just learned about today from the Hopeful Neighborhood project in St. Louis, and they're doing a bingo project for National Good Neighbor Day as well among their member neighborhoods. And they're kind of the Hopeful Neighborhood is connected to the Lutheran Church, and so they have hopeful neighborhoods around the country, and they're doing this same sort of bingo card idea. Sarah Johnson there is coordinating that, and you can probably see that she and I have talked quite a bit about that project. So hopefully we'll have an update at some point about how many people participate in that example as well. Any other questions for Hannah while I look up these links? Sometimes multitasking is a challenge on Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah. And then as far as customizable template for a bingo card, there are also on canva.com, which is a free kind of design app or website. You can look up just bingo templates and it'll already have some templates that are designed and they look really nice. That's actually where I got mine from. So if you've ever looked up bingo cards on Canva, you'll recognize our template. So, and then you can get ideas from all of the different spots that he's listed here. So
this may be a little too early, but have you had any initial feedback from neighborhood associations or any participants, Hannah?
We haven't received any of the submissions of the bingo cards yet, but we have had to print refills for a couple neighborhood or for one neighborhood. And then we also have been kind of monitoring them on Facebook as they are posting. And one of them is doing the drawing for individual participation a little bit differently, to where they are providing extra incentive for people who fill out more spots on their bingo card. So there's a first, second, and third prize. I think it's probably 20, 10, and I don't know. I can't do math quickly. We've already proved that. But yeah, they've got first, second, and third prizes for their participation, which I think is a great idea, and I might adopt next year.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea, and I'm interested to see if other people love the idea as much as I do. We'll see what this level of participation is around Springfield and St. Louis and elsewhere. But I certainly thought it was an idea worth sharing with the group today. Well, as we wind down today, but look forward to future sessions coming up in the next year, I wanted to ask for your input on a little poll here. You can vote for as many of these as sound interesting to you about what topics you'd like to see for future Neighboring 101 sessions. Would you like to see a session about controlling schedules? It's kind of time management. You often hear people say, I don't have time for neighboring. You want to see us do more interviews with authors of books on neighboring? We did one with Dave Runyon and the Art of Neighboring, but we could probably arrange for some more. Hopefully everybody's able to see the questions now. It's been a while since I've done a poll. More sessions from class members about what they're doing. Maybe just an overall session on just practical examples of how to neighbor and things that are a success. Would you rather break out and do sort of small group discussions among members? Or maybe a book discussion? Everybody can read.
I love the practical tools. Like the bingo example is something that a group is already using. It's something that we could modify and use on our own block and our own communities. I love other practical examples like that of physical, real world, forms, games, etc. I think that would be really helpful.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody's had a chance to vote if they've wanted to here. And we'll take a look at what's the top vote getters here. Turning Halloween into a neighboring event. I think I've got a couple of people I can tap for that, actually, and more practical sessions. All right, well, I'll take a look at the overall rankings here and put that into practice with our coming sessions. Well, that's it for today. I was going to close this out with showing you the 4 PSAs that KY3 TV and Springfield put together for us to promote National Good Neighbor Day. You may or may not have seen these yet. They're just 30 seconds apiece. There are 4 of them together in one video. And I'll share those out to end our class today. Once I share my screen again. And hopefully you enjoy these. And if you want to stick around and talk afterwards, that's fine too. Hang on, I gotta share the sound too, and I didn't do that, I don't think. Yeah, there we go.
You can make a big difference with a small act of kindness, and it all starts in your neighborhood.
How you doing?
One way of making a positive impact is just to be a friendly neighbor. A simple wave as you see neighbors leaving or arriving home. Introduce yourself to new faces.
Love your flowers.
Or compliment your neighbors on their flowers, their yard, or just say something positive about them. Prepare for National Good Neighbor Day by scanning this QR code.
This KY3 for Kids message is brought to you by Steak and Shake.
Whoops, I only clicked on one. I'm sorry, I'm not sure where the link is for all 4 of them, and I guess. They did put together 4 of them for us, and they were all actually filmed in our neighborhood using some of our neighbors as guinea pigs. And I know the neighbors have all said they've had a lot of people call them.
You can make a big difference with a small act of kindness.
It's the same one. Well, I'll try and find the link for all 4 of them and share that out at some point. But anyway, that's KY3's contribution to letting people know about National Good Neighbor Day. And they've done 4 of them for a month. And I think they run them 16 times a day in different rotations. So it's been a lot of publicity for National Good Neighbor Day. Well, thank you again for joining us. Amanda, especially thank you to you for your presentation. Excellent. Hannah and Sherry, good to see both of you, and thanks for sharing. See y'all later.
Thank you, David.